So, welcome to another episode. My name is Ross.
And I'm Craig.
It's time to put the kettle on because it's tea time. Right, in the news today, Loop. Do you remember Loop? We talked about it 2 or 3 weeks ago now. They are the company that's going to be working with Tesco's in order to deliver zero waste products to our door. The idea is that they deliver it to you in a little box. You use it, and then when you've finished, you put the packaging back in the box, and then they take it away for you.
Yeah.
The next time they deliver something. So that we said that service was coming soon. Soon is now, today, more specifically. So that's exciting. So I went straight on it. And I complete the registration form, and congratulations, it's in my area. Whoop.
Nice.
Then I went to the shop, and from there things got not quite as much fun, I have to say. So it's branded products only. So you're talking about your Heinz, your Coca-Cola. You got like men's products like Nivea for men, only because I'm a man and I don't know what the girls' one's called. But they're all kind of, branded products. From what I can tell, the price between the branded product in actual Tesco's versus Loop is exactly the same, but you do have to pay this additional deposit on top of that, which is like, that could inflate the price by as much as, like, I think in one case, like could be 30%. If you're buying something for £4, you might be adding another £2 for the packaging, or for the deposit for the packaging. You get that £2 back when you hand the stuff back, and that money can then get used towards your next order. So in theory, it's just money that's floating about for no obvious reason, as long as you don't throw it in the bin. What's disappointing is that because they're only the branded products, like, there are grocery elements, but they're all, when I go shopping, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm a cheapskate or something, but whenever I go shopping, I'm not buying the highest end top brand products. I quite often buy the Tesco products, but none of that, you can't get any of those stuff this way, which I find a little weird, because they've done a deal with Loop, who have then talked to, or one of them has then talked to their suppliers to get the packaging the way they want it. Well, why don't they make their own packaging for their own products and put those in the store? Or I guess maybe there's just not enough money in it for them to do that.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a trial idea at the moment. Yeah. So, for example, taking Heinz beans, what does that come in? Like a white tin? How is this reusable? Coming in a little bottle or something? Bottle of beans.
The one I was looking at was ketchup, not beans. It just looked like the same plastic-ish. They've probably just tweaked the bottle slightly so it's all made of the same plastic or something. But I'm guessing they've done that to all the packaging. So either it's exactly the same as it is the one in Tesco's, but it's just set up to work that way. Maybe the way that they're doing it is that because Loop does not have the other cheaper products, therefore, if you want to use zero waste, you have to use branded products. Maybe that's how they got the deal to work. I don't know, but so it's kind of cool, but at the same time, there isn't enough products on there that I would actually buy, and therefore I feel sad about that.
Yeah. Before you end this segment, what's the benefits of Loop again? That you're using less resources for product things, and ultimately buy the same item you want without any of the hassle.
Well, you're just not relying on your local recycling to actually recycle that item.
So they're refillable, yeah? Like, for example, if I have a ketchup bottle,
I don't know whether I hope they refill it, but I think you can, with these actual products, you're just going to put the packaging, the empty container, back into the box. Whether they take it, then wash it, and then reuse it, or whether they melt it down and make another one, I don't know. But
Yeah, I would assume they just reuse it because like
yeah,
a sauce bottle is for all sauces forever. A squeegee sauce bottle, the same as exactly the way Tesco's do it. They have a generic sauce bottle and every type of sauce is in it for like 30 pence. So being branded only is a bit niche. Yeah, but I can see it's a start.
It's a start. That's just I wanted to use it. I don't feel like I can because I just don't buy enough branded products. So anyway, so that's that. Next up, that was an interesting article. I thought I'd mention it just because it kind of feels like it's a sustainability issue in the broader human population sense. But the BBC had an article entitled "Jaw-dropping global crash in children being born." Jaw-droppingly bad. There's going to be a reduction in children all over the world. Now, it was framed like it was bad news. I mean, that framing is like, oh no, there's a crisis. There's not going to be enough children in the world. And it had to actually outline specifically why they thought it was bad.
Yeah.
I was reading the first bit going, I don't get the problem. Sorry. I thought we wanted the population to go down. I thought we were overpopulated. I thought we were using too many resources and struggling to feed everybody. So why would not having as many people be bad? There, I have to read it again because they think it's because basically it would change the dynamic of the age proportions. So there'll be more older people than younger people, which will change the economy and who is contributing towards it. Because young people work hard for nothing and old people don't do any work.
Resource-based economy, we have to chat about it at some point. But that sounds like it's going to break the economy in a good way.
Well, see, right, so the big question you didn't ask, which I was hoping you would, is why? why are we having a reduced population? So do you want to have a guess as to why you think the
population has gone down as we're all getting a bit richer, which means we need, and healthcare is getting so good that we need to have less kids because now 1 in 3 aren't going to die.
So it's a choice, you're saying?
Basically, the world's getting a bit more stable, richer, better healthcare. That's my thing.
Okay, so I think that's partly it, but they particularly mentioned women actually choosing to have careers over children now. That was
in Western world specifically. I mean, the population booms are typically in third world countries, so
yeah, well,
that's still happening.
I guess as those areas are supposedly getting smaller, and it's a bigger factor by the more developed countries. But yeah, they're suggesting that they are choosing. But if it's a choice, I think that would just adapt itself, wouldn't it not? Like if it was like, I thought they're going to say something like, fertility rates in male sperm was dropping due to, I don't know, lack of exercise or something. But if it's just that, if it's just people are choosing to have it later, then that's probably because we're able to make that choice. But then it feels like society will adjust if we're all working longer, living longer, healthier. Won't we just choose to have maybe less, same number of children, but over a longer period of time, or just having children later, or with a whole.
Also, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, surely the offset of not having more children in the economy will be offset by the fact that women are working more and they themselves are now more of an economy contributor for themselves. So they don't need to have kids because they themselves can go buy stuff that kids perhaps don't. So I don't know. It depends. Depends what you want as the economy, I suppose. People buy in things. There's usually more money in the system to buy things.
I think this article just wants cheap labour. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so yeah,
It kind of seems it's against the old people. There's too many old people.
Yeah.
I mean,
old people, stop being so lazy. Stop you're just sucking out the economy. Stop it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I didn't. I was generally thinking that article was slightly.
What's the source? Is it the
BBC.
Guardian?
It was BBC.
Ah, BBC.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that idea there? Don't know.
But also, like this, as we've just had the whole working from home change, I can still see that having an effect on how families work anyway. Because if we move towards more of this gig economy style anyway, and then it's become. Whereas at the moment, it's for women, it's still slightly, grow up, get married, choose between career or kids, pick one. You can't have both. Whereas that was the old way of things. It's not a choice anymore, and it's surely society will just adjust with maternity and paternity, and will just handle the whole period of one's life when they have children better, and then it will figure itself out and we'll carry on as normal.
Yeah, I mean, not to get into cold water here or hot water or whatever, and say the wrong words.
Water of any kind.
Yeah, but I would say today is there's a lot more. A lot more quality in the sense of how child rearing ends up. So especially in developed countries where this study seems to be focused, where if you are a woman, you can have kids and have a career now, and the kids could stay home with a stay-at-home dad, for example. That's a bit more of a thing that happens now, which is good. So yeah. I can only see that trend increasing, which means the economy shouldn't change.
Exactly. I think we might be slightly out of balance now, but I think the balance will just.
I mean, the world has spent a hell of a lot of money fighting the pandemic, so like right now, it's a weird time for this type of stuff to come out.
Yeah. Okay, that's what the BBC's worrying about right now. Next one, floating wind, which is 2 words on its own, which doesn't sound very nice. But basically, offshore wind farms, and the fact that they can now be further offshore because they can just float. So they're working on this technology to the point where you'll have more wind farms in windier places, I guess, because you'll put them anywhere. But that's a thing they're throwing lots of money at the moment.
Okay.
So can you spot one problem that you've got? So now, rather than putting it offshore, you're now going to put it 200 miles out to sea. What problem have we got now?
I can think of several. I mean, now it's kind of a hazard, perhaps, of ships, but also like
whoa,
like
who put that
there? Getting this back and forth is going to require a lot of cable, I imagine.
Yes. So a lot of cable. Yes. So I mean, so we were talking the other day about hydrogen and how it's useful for when you have an abundance of it, and then you can, as in more than you actually need, and then you can convert it into wind energy or solar energy, and you can convert that into hydrogen because then you can store it. So it makes sense to me that you could, have in the middle of the ocean wind farm, attach it to an electrolysis machine because, do whatever you like it, though, we don't mind. And then have a autonomous boat that ferries the hydrogen back once a week. But it's a crazy world where all that structure together, an offshore wind farm, a deep sea wind farm, an electrolysis machine, and an autonomous boat still seems easier to me than trying to lay a massive cable. What sort of crazy person do that?
Good segue.
I
Since Lincolnshire,
may have knew about one of the articles you read about.
it seems the crazy people who do this right now, building the world's longest subsea power cable, is the UK, as in the national grid of the UK, and Denmark. So we're basically building a massive 475-mile cable between the UK and Lincolnshire and Denmark.
It's beautiful.
And yeah, so it's going to be the world's biggest underwater cable. Just right across the sea there.
Oh, it's not working. Damn it. I wonder which bit's broken.
Yeah, the idea is to build this by 2023 as well, so it's pretty quick. So that kind of sounds to me like laying underwater cable is fairly efficient, however weird.
Well, I mean, maybe it's just as simple as just, put a boat along and drop it on the way out. I mean, it might be that simple. I would imagine it isn't, but
it will ravel up like a slinky. Just kind of just stretch it across and just tie it to Denmark.
Just don't put it too tight, otherwise you'll trip a fish over.
I reckon it stops halfway as well, like the UK side, and goes, "Come on, Denmark, your turn." Ta-ra.
Middle. We're a race.
Yeah. So by 2023, we'll have a high voltage underwater cable between Lincolnshire and Norway, and yeah. So Denmark, sorry, not Norway, and the entire point is it'll be transporting the idea of our unused renewable energy, which the UK seems to have a lot of right now, and so do Denmark. We both have a lot, and this cable will power roughly 1.5 million houses on either side of the cable.
On either side of the cable. But they're producing their own stuff as well, right?
Yes. We both are.
So if we're both producing lots of stuff, why do we need to transfer it to each other?
The idea is to share it. So when we have too much, we give it to Denmark. When they have too much, they give it to us. It's just a way of coming together, saving the environment.
Proud move, don't they? Oh, okay. Can I borrow some from you? Cheers. Oh, another one's coming. Oh, it's just terrible.
I suppose so, yeah. And yeah, I mean, given this between Lincolnshire and Denmark, what's the cable called? Can you guess? Because I know you've watched this TV program.
So it's between UK and Denmark.
Yeah.
And it's a cable. Is that all I've got? Do I go on here? Okay, I'm going to call it the UK Denmark cable. Or the UK mark. The UK markable. I don't know.
Close. I thought you would go with when I said the TV series you've watched.
Yeah,
that's where the Vikings landed.
Oh,
so it's called the Viking Link.
The Viking Link, yes. Okay.
So yeah, so Denmark is no longer raiding us. I know we're like rape and pillage that comes with it. Now they're going to share with us.
They're raiding electrons now, and not.
We're not raiding as such. We're sharing it. We're going to get some back too.
Yeah.
And
they're raiding it from us, and then we raid it from them. So
yes.
a bit like Vikings, except now it's two-way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a cool thing we're doing, and very quickly too. So construction's already begun. So 2023.
All right.
Cool.
So it takes 3 years to lay a cable then?
I would assume it's already been built. I was literally putting it on the floor. I have no idea. I don't know how to see cables.
Can they just like they have those ferries that go like chain ferries? Can we just Can we just do that and actually have it so that it's a ferry as well? Just give us another way of getting to Denmark on an electrical powered ferry. It's based off the excess of the cable that's not needed. No.
I also don't know how big this cable is. There's no information on it. I mean, I assume it's not just like a normal cable plugged into either power sockets either end. I assume there's going to be some sort of beef there.
It's gonna be like this one. Look. Just gonna wrap it round. Look. See, you get it? Job done.
Well, that big, a quarter the size of Australia.
Yeah, exactly. It's the width of Ireland.
Yeah. So, do you have any more news?
No, I don't. I'm newsless.
Cool. Well, you mentioned about hydrogen too. That we did talk about hydrogen last time, and actually, I think it was the day after our last talk. Europe has announced this whole idea of using hydrogen to slow climate change. Have you heard about this?
No.
So it's something that a lot of places have been trying to do. The reason being that hydrogen is the universe's most common element.
Yeah.
So the more we can use it, the better.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, so we may as well just use it.
Yes.
Yeah, so this happened on the 8th of July. They kind of signed in the idea of trying to use it to slow climate change by recycling hydrogen and building plants to use the hydrogen in order to generate electricity. So they're hoping to start powering a certain percentage of Europe this way. And they have no idea if it will work. So they're starting to find out. Okay. I don't really know much more about it right now, but I assume more details will come when they actually start building this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we touched on hydrogen power plants before and the efficiency of them.
I've been quite negative about hydrogen so far. But that point you just made there about the fact that it is the most abundant element is, I think, perhaps at the very least reason to explore it more, because we don't fully understand it yet. Maybe there are other things we can do with it. So it makes sense from that perspective.
Yeah, and I suppose we collect the solar radiation that's coming from the sun in solar panels, yet the sun itself uses hydrogen. So this is kind of skip the whole song and dance and just use the hydrogen. That could be the future.
All right, give you that one. I will be less negative, but I'm still wary. I'm still wary of the natural gas companies going, oh, I know, I'll just switch to hydrogen. That way I can continue doing what I'm doing with little effort.
I mean, what's the negatives there? Hydrogen blows up just as much as natural gas. So, I mean, the safety concerns are moot. Don't know. Sounds like a good idea. Maybe we should pitch that.
The concerns with that, mate, are that the people that run those companies haven't exactly done their best to make the world a better place. So it might be time for them to move on.
Wow.
Obviously, the people that run them can't live forever, but
I mean, yeah, but different times. I mean, there are different things then. Like the whole oil industry is, 100 years old, maybe more. So I think if we can give the past, it's more of it. They still do it today. And are they doing it today? I mean, they're making a lot of effort now. You don't buy it?
I'm not sure I do. Well, we've seen it before, that's what I'm saying. We've seen, there's a whole VW Dieselgate and the other gate that they did. There's those people, if it's the same person in charge, no, I don't believe it.
Well, talking about Dieselgate, it is actually Germany who was test running this initiative first. So let's hope they are truthful with their results and it works. But anyway, we look back in the future. In other news, something a bit more up your street is a new electric vehicle by Nissan, which is coming after the very successful Leaf, which you have.
I do. I have the first version Leaf, not the newer Leaf.
The collector's edition.
I have the the more of the guinea pig edition.
So I think you said it before. So one of the main advantages, well, actually, there's like 3 advantages, but I'll give you the first one first of the new Ariya. So the Nissan Ariya.
Okay.
Ariya. Yeah, Ariya. One of them is they've changed the charge connector. So your Leaf is, what's it called?
Cadamo? Yeah.
Yes. They've binned that.
To CCS, I guess.
Yes. Is that a good thing?
It seems to be the standard one, yeah. So yes, I would say that's a good thing.
Cool. Yeah. So I was looking into these charging connectors. Yeah. So Shadowmore in the UK, 50-50. Shadowmore to CCS, they're very much 50-50. There's no clear winner.
Every charger I go to has both.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that was the stat said in the UK too. US, different story. It's slightly more chargeable. So that's getting phased out because there's mass building of CCS, which does seem to be the standard. I don't really know much about electric cars because I don't have one, but I would see a CCS as a USB-C adapter.
All right, yeah, give you that.
Yeah, and ChargeMore would be, I don't know, Apple's Lightning adapter, very proprietary. Works for
Okay.
X.
All right.
Yeah, CCS also smaller, easier, not necessarily faster. Does the same deal.
Well, I mean,
just smaller.
Even Tesla have, I think they have either an adapter or they have two. I can't remember. I don't have a Tesla, so I can't tell you. But yeah, I think they have a CCS cable or an adapter for it to go with it because theirs was proprietary. So theirs was more the Apple one because they had superchargers, and I don't think they were quite compatible with CCS, but I think they've now changed that.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So add picture here for the YouTube audience. Unfortunately, podcasters can't see it, but check a picture up of this because it looks quite cool, and it's an SUV. So they're going down the whole idea of the Model Y. They've obviously seen that's going to be massively popular.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the Nissan Ariya SUV uses CCS and has a 300-mile range.
Cool.
Sounds like a great addition to the electric car sort of industry.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Nissan have done, in fairness, they've done very well, and they've done, and I don't know what they do internationally, but when I was getting my car, they had the scrappage scheme existed, and they were the only ones who were even willing to have it attached to their electric car. Now, at the time, not many other cars even had anything. I mean, I think there was like the Bolt or whatever. There was there's a handful of cars, but even the ones that offered an electric car of some variety didn't allow you to use a scrappage scheme designed to get rid of old petrol cars to buy an electric one. Nissan was the only one that did, which is why I ended up buying Nissan, because I didn't actually set out to do that. But
that's cool.
So yeah, I mean, I think some news has come out recently which suggests that we're going to move away from electric cars, which was disappointing. So not sure how that fits in with this, but whatever. If it's an SUV, that's what people want. If the range is near 300 miles, then that's great. Obviously, I'm driving around a car that has a third of that, so even less. So yeah, there are genuine practicality issues from my car, but a 300-mile one, from my world as it is now, if I could ever add a 300-mile one, so many journeys would not have to charge. Charging would literally just be wake up in the morning and then leave, and then that would be all. I'd very rarely use a public charger if I had a 300-mile car.
Yeah, not in the UK. Yeah, I mean 300 miles would be from you to Scotland, or was you'd get pretty much the entire.
Yeah, I mean my family's from Devon, which is about 100 miles away from here, so slightly less, I think. So yeah, even that trip, which I would consider to be probably one of the longer trips that I would do, two and a bit hours in the car, would be no problem in a 300-mile car.
Oh, fantastic. So obviously there's no prices on this yet, but let's say a price did come out that was cheaper than a Model Y. Would you consider it? Or are you still 100% going to get a Tesla?
Well, yeah, no, sorry, Nissan. There's just no way I would get anything else. The technology on a Tesla is so more advanced. I just wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't consider anything else. But
I mean, yeah, the only thing that Nissan has is comparable would be the mileage. So the Model Y also has about 300 miles ish. Depends on obviously the spec you get.
I can't remember exactly, but I mean, even the Model Y, they've just reduced the price on the Model Y as well.
They have,
just to make life more difficult for everybody else. Supposedly, they've come up with in Germany, they're now starting to build it's how they build the frame of the car. Apparently they've come up with some other new way of reducing the number of parts. Even the current version of the Model Y is like reduced the back of it used to be like, I don't know, 50 pieces or something down to 2, and then I think they may have done something similar again, and they're basically passing those savings back to the consumer. And I think there's also some threshold they were trying to get under as well. So yes, well, got the world of coming up with SUVs that compete with the Model Ys just got a little bit harder, but good to see other people doing it. When is it coming out?
It doesn't say, but it was announced today. So
what was announced? That it was coming soon?
That was a thing, yes.
Oh.
But this is a thing. So, I don't know. Next year, I have no idea.
So it's always 2021 to us. 2021.
Everything's 2021. This entire year has been delayed.
But like, I mean, how many more revisions would have Tesla done than Model Y by then? How much more miles could it have done by then? They need to crack on with it. They need to sort themselves out.
I think that's Tesla's biggest advantage, that they can move fast. They're small, they're innovative. They can just kick stuff out. Whereas, I mean, it'll take Ford 4 to 5 years just to update the firmware on the actual computer inside the car, which can be done daily on Tesla. Yeah. I mean, that type of stuff just can't be caught up.
Yeah, which is why you're in the market for buying a car. Even if you want an SUV and that you can't get a Model Y, well, make a slight compromise and get a Model 3 instead, a smaller one. You still appreciate it more than getting a Nissan SUV or anyone else.
Well, on more car news, and before we start sounding Top Gear, there is, as we talked about last week, we talked about the British Gas and their new electric vans. So another UK industry is the Royal Mail, and they've also got electric vans.
Have they now?
Technically hybrid vans, but they call them electric vans because that's primarily what they're going to use. I think they've kind of got, I think they put it down as a 1.5 litre petrol engine as backup, just in case. Because delivering your mail is important. And it's also a legal responsibility, so fair enough.
Yeah, and realistically, they probably could do most of their trips on electric. And then occasionally if they have to go back to that, I don't know, depot somewhere up north to be serviced or something. But
I assume just swap the van as it charges, like you see those little things in supermarkets where you just take those little hand things. The rest are all charging, and they get swapped out. So their test run in Birmingham last week, and hopefully we'll get results on how that goes. But I can't see why that would ever go wrong. That's just going to be a win-win all around.
Do you know what's a big thing at the moment with in terms of another, shall we say, government department that is benefiting from having electric cars?
Transport?
No,
that's not transport.
No, like British Gas, like Royal Mail, more like Royal Mail, a government-run thing that could do with swapping their cars over to electric cars, and then they're doing it all over the world. It's becoming a bit of a thing. The police. Thing. It's the police.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Police departments are all swapping over to electric cars because, well, obviously it reduces a lot of their costs. That a lot of the police cars are sat idle for a lot of the time, and obviously electric car and idle is not doing anything. In fact, in America, because it's in hotter parts of the country, there's been fires and stuff caused by police cars sat idle on the side of the road.
Really?
Very dry sort of grass or whatever, and it's actually caught fire because it's been sat there for so long, and caused all sorts of problems. So, but yeah, so electric cars don't do that, and the acceleration on them is ridiculous. So
yeah.
So if you listen to this and you have anything to do with the police department, suggest electric cars, I think they would benefit and save themselves a lot of money.
I imagine so, yeah. So talking about a lot of money, how much would it take, do you think, to buy the entire police force a suite of Teslas? How many cars do you reckon it's going to be?
I don't know.
I mean, let's just quickly do the math. So let's say there's, how much is Tesla?
If you want,
30K?
if you go for the Model 3, then you're looking about 35.
Okay, so that's right.
Maybe up into 40, just to make it so you can have the performance models and stuff.
Yes. Okay. Not sure if my maths is right, but that sounds-ish about right. So talking about money, the UK is currently banning Hawaii, and the reason being that Chinese spies, because Chinese spies. The US has done the same. I think we considered banning it in the UK maybe 6 months ago, when Gavin Williamson was the defense secretary. I think he may have approved it or something similar, but that didn't get banned then. It's getting banned now when it's sort of half installed. Hawaii, the UK, is a 5G network. But the big pain point, this is costing the UK 2.5 billion. So let's quickly just math that down. We could buy 2.5 million Teslas for the police force instead. So that sounds like an awful waste of money.
Instead of banning Huawei, what they're called. You say what you said sounds like Hawaii. So you just is in the country.
Hawaii. Yeah, whatever they call it. That Chinese thing we can't talk about.
Hawaii, whatever it's called. Yeah, but then so banning them is going to cost that much money.
2.5 billion.
Because they have to replace all the bits.
Yes, by 2027.
How does it cost that much?
I don't know.
To replace
stupid things cost a lot of money. But it's going to put us back 2 to 3 years in the 5G network. So that's not going to come anytime soon. All networks have been told by 2027 they have to replace all Hawaii parts, whatever. And
in post edit, I'm just going to have to blank you out and just shove the logo over your head or something.
Just put a country there. Just Hawaii. Hello, Hawaii.
Choose. One of them's banned. You decide.
Yeah. I mean, who are we? Who are we? Who are we? Who are we?
Who are we? Who are we to judge?
But yeah, 2.5 billion.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I mean, probably quite crap maths because I think I might have got the wrong amount of zeros in 2.5 billion. But that's about either 2.5 million or 25 million Teslas. Either one of those numbers, I imagine, is more than enough for the UK's police force.
Honestly, and you're not pricing a car 100,000 by doing that.
I went for the performance edition one. That's the 100K one, isn't it?
No, that's a Model S.
Isn't it the really meaty fast ones you want?
That's the plaid.
The Roadster.
You don't need that one, mate. That's a bit.
I'm just saying, you can get 2.5 million of them.
Well, right, fair enough. Yeah, yes, that would be cool. Yeah, no one's catching you then. Oh, as in you're not getting away from the police with that thing.
I mean, you can just, the police can take probably 5 or 6 of them home, just leave them on the drive. That's going to be enough.
I now want to know. But no, I was thinking the Model 3. I just want to check how much that thing costs.
Yeah, I'm thinking about 30.
It's the performance one is 56,000.
So 5 million of them. Bargain.
Cracking.
So that's what we could do. That's what we haven't done.
Yeah, but I mean, they must have done it for a reason, right? It's not getting to the politics of China and stuff, but presumably they've done that for a reason.
I'm sure they have. But it's political reasons. We could better spend the money, arguably. I mean,
maybe
just cancel 5G. We don't really need that.
maybe it's I'm totally speculating now. It's just making stuff up, but maybe it was some sort of part of the negotiations with the US for some sort of trade deal. Go, look, we're not going to take your crappy chicken. However, if you want us to ban Huawei, we will. In which case, it might be 2.5 billion spent to make another 10 billion somewhere. Who knows?
It's a trade deal.
We can only speculate on that one. Which
we
like to stick with the facts. We do that we know.
Yeah, and they're quite loose facts. But I suppose that's what it's like being in the UK. Like last week, I was kind of giving praise to the UK on buying 500 million of the space satellite company guys.
Yeah, OneWeb.
That's the ones. Yeah. And then we're just chucking out 2.5 billion to fix this problem we should have probably fixed last year. We should have made this in the first place.
But they were debating it quite a while ago. So, but then equally, how are they coming up with this cost anyway? Are they going, oh, well, I think there's about 25 million chips. So maybe it'll take, I don't know, an hour for each one. I mean, how are they coming up with these numbers?
Don't know.
Because if it was 2.5 billion pounds, I'm sure I'd possibly come up with a cheaper way of replacing them.
5 hours ago, China's lashing out quite nasty with this because it's groundless according to the China. I mean, while I actually look up the amount of money and see if it actually says why. Do you care about 5G? Is that a thing that you're waiting for?
Well, I don't know, because it's like I think it's something that could be very cool in certain environments, but generally I'm more interested in access everywhere at a reasonable level as opposed to having a huge amount of bandwidth in any one particular place. I mean, it does open up some cool things that you can do in city centers and stuff. Which would but that feels more of a luxury than I don't feel like we've got the necessity part done yet. I still go through where I live many pockets of places where I have no signal at all. I've been at electric chargers in places where there's no mobile signal, no data. So like if you have any problem at all, you can't even call the company who runs the charger to say there's a problem. So it's fundamentally broken. So so stuff like OneWeb and Starlink for me is a bigger deal because that would solve that problem.
Bigger than 5G.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like 5G is going to be a marketing ploy for a while. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be all that. It's going to be cool, but it's going to be totally pointless and not necessarily sustainable.
Yeah, it's going to be the same as 4G. Like most places, you can't get 4G either, so you're not going to get 5G. And 4G is ridiculous speeds for what you need. 5G is even better, but again, not needed really, arguably.
No, it's one of those things that once you've got the benefits of 5G, you're then going to just the same as the internet, and then going to wonder how you managed without it. But yeah, I think in terms of priority, I'd rather there was full coverage than having pockets of lots of coverage.
Yes, but looking at actual costs, it's because they require operators to remove Huawei, whatever equipment by 2027. That's going to cost hundreds of millions just to third parties. Because it delays the roll-up by 2 to 3 years, that again will cost a further billion or so, up to 2 billion, it says, of just that delay. So lots of money.
I still think there's probably gone right. This number of devices, this number of engineers, roughly an hour each. It may not be. We don't know. We don't know.
Nope. And
Large numbers. No idea where they've come from.
no, just a number that just pulled out from somewhere. But yeah, too much money to spend on this thing. My final piece of news, which is pretty good news, is Scotland's first commercial vertical farm.
Oh, the old vertical farm.
Yes. There's a bit of a throwback to a few episodes ago where we talked about vertical farming.
We did.
And Scotland's going to get one, which is nice because Scotland kind of feels like a place where you want that.
Yeah,
it's not exactly the most, it's not the most hospitable place. But I mean, especially where it's in Aberdeen, which is probably not too great. I don't know why.
Sorry, you've got to be very careful here. Aberdeen is not great. Why?
I don't know. Maybe my Scottish geography has been messed up, but is Aberdeen north?
Well,
northeast?
It's in Scotland. So from my perspective, yeah, it's north.
Yeah, it's north of us. Yeah, sorry, Scotland.
Either way, what's your point though? Whether it's north of Scotland or whether it's Scotland, which is very north, what?
Yeah, it's northeast. I thought so. So basically, obviously, the more northern you get, the less like stuff. Like there's pretty much no sun up there, is there?
Right. So
like this is where people live in caves and stuff.
Right. So they've had vertical farm because otherwise they would just not have any food because nothing grows there because it's barren. Because they basically live in the northern circle, Arctic circle, whatever you call it.
Well, it's not quite the Arctic Circle.
People are starving and eating each other because that's what it's like in Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Just looking at the map of Scotland, Aberdeen is on the far right elbow, where there's like no other city until you either get to Dundee or Inverness. So Aberdeen's kind of out there on its own. Yeah. Probably a lovely place, but could do with a bit of farm.
Well, it's got one apparently. News just in. Just got one.
It does. The deal has been signed by Vertigro. It's been signed by a group called the Intelligent Growth Solutions, and they're going to build the first one soon. Basically, I didn't see a date, but yeah, it's about 1,600 square meter service area, 4 9-meter high towers. They haven't really said what they're going to make there, but I assume a bit of everything. But as a vertical farm goes, don't matter. You can switch and change whenever you want.
You can do.
The idea is to produce up to 70 tons per annum of food.
Well, good. Well done then.
That sounds great. Yeah, so that's happening. It's the first commercial one. So like to see some more of that. I mean, Wales could do one some too, because we get the same problem in Scotland. There's parts of Wales that's completely rural and it just rains all the time. So there's no sun.
No.
I imagine that's what Aberdeen is like, to be honest. I've never been there, but that's just my thought. If anyone's from Aberdeen, please correct.
Weird segue. I did look into whether anyone had actually worked out a decent way of generating electricity from rain.
Oh, really?
Was thin pickings, to be honest. So, but someone in Wales should probably invent that one because it feels like a waste. All these little droplets of water flying out of the sky and landed on some surface, and what we've got so far is a bit rubbish. But if you're interested in looking into it, it's piezoelectric. It's called.
Oh, really?
It's turning vibrations basically into electricity. So planes do that to some degree, except they don't turn it into electricity. They turn vibrations into heat, which is how they sort of dampen down the turbulence. But it's sort of taking the same idea of dealing with the vibrations and then converting it into electricity instead. So yeah, people have made like little plates where the water pit patters on top of the thing, and then it generates a current. But it's pretty pathetic, to be honest.
as can say, how much rain do you need in order to make a benefit versus letting that rain go into a reservoir and using hydro.
Exactly. Hydro
Yes.
currently much better.
Yeah.
But just seems okay. Well, one's water that's okay. It's rain. It's collected, but it does. It feels like you should be able to. Okay, like so. If you've ever been out in the rain, that's something you do, Greg. And if you ever sometimes there's certain materials, or you might have something in your garden which makes a really loud noise when it rains. It's like a really loud sort of, smacking sort of pattering sound. Theoretically, that's the sort of material that could generate the most electricity, because that it's turning that energy into sound. So some sort of adaptation of that could turn the same energy into the kinetic energy into not into sound, but into, or actually what sound is vibrations. So
yeah,
you can then, if it makes a sound, that sound can then be converted into electricity, because that's how speakers work.
Yeah, that's good.
Little side thing there. And as for looking, I'd like to go to this vertical farm. It's a bit too far away. Do you want to do that one? I did the Tesla factory, so do you want to go to Scotland to do the vertical farm?
Let's think about that. Then.
Talk about that. All right, fair enough. Okay, right. Well, I take it that brings us on to today's topic of the day.
It does, and I know nothing about this, so I'm going to be enlightened.
Well, let's hope so. So I want to, because I've been, as I do, scouring the internet for certain things all the time. There's a company I've come across, or I'm not sure if it's even a company. I think it's more of a movement than it's a company. It's a community, but it's global. And they are called, and you may have heard of them before, Precious Plastic. Now, I'll give you the little sort of history of it, because what they do is amazing. And to be honest, the uptake in the UK compared to a lot of Europe is a bit disappointing. So I thought maybe, because we have such a large audience, maybe we could start something here today. Because today we got our Think, Educate, Act. I feel like today's more of a act sort of topic. Okay, so Precious Plastics is the brainchild of a guy called Dave Hakkens. In 2012, he was studying at the Design Academy in Eindhoven, and he recognized the need for plastic to be recycled. And so he began to create a method to do that. And in his graduation year, a year later, he released version 1 of his recycling machines. Over the next few years, the word got out. Other people started to replicate his machines, and a small team was built. And by 2016, Precious Plastics version 2 was launched to the world. Have you actually heard of Precious Plastics at all? Has that ever?
I haven't.
No, see, UK sucks. Right. So this generated more interest. More people started to get involved. And then there was a whole group of them, about 40, I think, that traveled to Eindhoven to be part of a volunteer group. Local companies were offering free food to them. They got a free workspace. They raised some money. All the volunteers turned vegan to ensure that the budget was stretched as well as possible. They lived together. They worked together in this big warehouse, basically. They developed some new techniques. They built websites. They improved the machines. And eventually version 3, which was like a shipping container, which could sort of do the full cycle, was popping up all over the place. And Precious Plastics officially became global, although you've never heard of it. Now it has its own, what they call a universe, which consists of collection points to collect the plastics, builders to make the machines, workspaces to work the material into products. They have online bazaars for people to buy those products, and the local community groups to tackle the wider problem and to grow the network. So I'm just going to give you a quick recap on the problem that they're trying to solve. So as they put it, all of the plastic materials that our parents and grandparents have used in their lifetime are still here and they will continue to collect and pollute for another 4 centuries. 4 centuries. It takes about 500 years for it to decompose, apparently. So we now produce 300 million metric tons of new plastic every year.
Worldwide.
Yeah. So new, or otherwise known as virgin plastic, is made from fossil fuels, which we obviously know is not sustainable. So all the plastic waste that we've thrown in landfill needs to be recognised as a resource, and ultimately we need to collect it up, reuse it, and then find ways to keep reusing it so that it doesn't end up back into landfill. And no, burning does not count as a use. Hashtag stop burning stuff. So, do you know anything about plastic?
Not a massive deal. I obviously know there's different types that can and can't be recycled.
Yeah.
What do precious plastics take? They take everything. Could you give any plastic?
Not everything. So there are 2 fundamentally different plastics. What they refer to, well, the way they describe it to help you understand it is there's bread and butter plastic. You've got your bread plastic. Okay. Your bread plastic, you create it, you mold it into a shape, a loaf shape, and then it stays in that shape forever. If you try and reheat it, it will just burn the loaf. You'll just burn the bread. That's your bread ones. Those are you can't. They're pretty much useless. You can't reuse those ones. You've got your butter ones, which are the ones that if you have butter and then you heat it up, it melts. You can make a new shape, and then it will cool, and then that'll go back to the plastic you had before, but in a different shape. That makes sense. So the bread plastics only take up 20% or account for about 20% of all the plastics that we have. So the majority is the butter stuff, which is therefore 80%, and is the more typical stuff that we recognize that we can recycle, like plastic bottles, lids, and buckets, and things. Okay. Side note, which, because we've got to explain the good and the bad. One use for the bread plastic, which we can't reuse, has been, I don't know if that technology has been improved, but it certainly has been in the past used for wind turbine blades.
Oh, really?
So if those ever become useless, crack, whatever, chances are they will end up on landfill. So hopefully someone's working on that one.
And they're massive.
They are pretty big, yeah. Right, so of the remaining plastics, there are something like 7 different types. If you ever looked at your plastic bottles, I should have one with me as an example, really. Do I have one?
They got numbers on them, yeah. Yeah,
they got the numbers on them. Yeah, so that if you go to, I won't go through all of them because it's probably not that interesting to everyone, but each one has different properties. Some of them cope well with thermal degradation. Some of them don't. Some of them are better at UV, are protected or not. Some are brittle. Some, when they get cold, they snap or whatever. So some are spongy, and so depending on what you might want to use it for, you basically have to look through the list. And now, again, not all of them can be recycled. Some of them are just so, they are a bit like the bread ones in that they just burn really easily, that they're just not very usable. So, but what's cool is that they've created this whole ecosystem thing around it. They have an academy, and it will basically teach you all about different plastics, different types, properties, how to identify which one's which. And then you can create like a system where you collect the plastic that you want, and then so that's a thing in its own right. It's a collection point. You can create them up in your local school or some other local business that has lots of footfall, perhaps. So you set that up, and then you create a workspace. And in that workspace, you can buy the machine. So Precious Plastics makes these versions, version 1, version 2, we're now on version 4. You can buy those machines in, set up a workspace, have people come in and use those, and maybe pay to use the machines. They obviously source the plastic from the collection point, so they buy the plastic from the collection point at some sort of reasonable rate. So then they can get that, and then people then make those products, and then they make a shop, and basically you create your own recycling plastic ecosystem, and you can sort of they've got instructions and tutorials and stuff about how to do all of those things. I just think it's really cool because basically people are doing it. They're creating their own businesses. They're creating their own ideas. People might just be making bowls or plastic earrings or whatever, but they're just coming up with cool stuff that they can use. You can even make bricks with it, plastic bricks, which can be generally used for certain types of building. You can make planks with it. So some people have made chairs and benches and things with it. It's really cool. So yeah, I just wanted to share.
That does sound pretty cool. So
I'm
when you say bricks, I'm thinking like life-size Lego. Is that a thing? Could you literally build a Lego house in real life?
Yeah. I mean, if you find someone giving you the buy the brick. So obviously at the moment it tends to be more expensive to buy a plastic recycled plastic block over a virgin plastic block. Other than creating these sort of ecosystems, there isn't really any way of making that better, because at some point, hopefully, governments will start taxing virgin plastic because of the fact that it comes from fossil fuel.
Yeah, I think I remember we touched on this in the recycling episode, talking about the ideas of you don't get back 100% in recycling anyway. So the fact it's also more expensive is a double loss.
Yeah, but I think that's something that will change. But if it all comes from that collection point, so if we can make that societal change where people are taking their certain plastic waste to a certain place, then at least you've got a method to fund, if you like, all these other companies that are making stuff with that plastic. Obviously, the ideal is that we don't have the plastic in the first place. But yeah, it's kind of like I don't think, the precious plastic is there to sort of like go, look, what we have is a valuable resource and we shouldn't be wasting it. I don't think any part of them wants to say, actually, I want more plastic. There's enough being wasted as it is. So it's just about finding it, collecting it, and then making small businesses out of it in our new world of having a gig economy and making stuff at home and stuff. Then I just think it's an interesting opportunity for lots of people. But so I was looking at it for myself. It's like, okay, if I was to come up with a product that I want to design, how would I do that? And I've already found like there's some stumbling blocks, and that purely just because the UK doesn't have enough. We don't have enough. Like, so if you can, they've got a map, and it's got pins on it for the different types of the collection zones and the workshops and stuff. And there just isn't many in the local area. So today I created my own pin to say, like, if you want to do something in the area, get in touch. And then this was me thinking about the ACT side of things. So again, if you're interested in this sort of stuff, go and find your nearest pin. It might
Links in the show notes.
Yeah, it might be me. And if so, sorry, I haven't got very far yet, but depending on when you hear this. But I've already had one person get in touch. And that was only today. So it seems like there are at least some people out there that are interested in doing it. It's just that if you want to make something from plastic, if you're at the end of that chain, and you want to make a product and then sell it, then obviously you need a collection point ahead of you, and you need a workshop ahead of you. And so if you're coming into it from the end of the chain, then you're like, well, there's no infrastructure. I need the rest of the infrastructure for it to work. But yeah, so theoretically, it could be even a way of, I'm thinking like schools and nurseries maybe, or I don't know if you can think of any other thing else that gets post offices. I don't know. It could be a way for places that have lots of natural footfall as a revenue stream, theoretically, because
museums, libraries.
What's that? Libraries, yeah.
Museums, libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see why it couldn't be, really, because if they're willing to collect it, other people are willing to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be cheap in order for it to make it viable, but they're willing to. And all you have to do is put a bin out.
Yeah, I think libraries would be the common one here. That would be the very big case. Yeah. Especially if libraries had 3D printers where they could melt this into reusable things almost immediately.
Well, they don't have to do that part themselves. They can just partner up with, if there's something that they need the 3D printers for, then obviously they can partner with, since they're like, we'll supply you with this at this rate, and then you supply us with that at that rate.
That sounds good.
So yeah, that's my act of the week. I'm looking to see what I can help achieve on that front.
I feel like there should be some sort of like label that kind of pops up. Act of the week.
Act of the week. Act 2.
Good deed. Yeah, really cool that someone's reached out to you already. In what context did they reach out? Are they someone who has resources, or are they someone who wants to do the workshop side? Or
so quite interestingly, very I'm coming at it from the build end. I was thinking, okay, I can probably think of some products to make. He was actually more interested in setting up a community and applying for grants and things for funding for getting up that sort of getting people involved. And he's got contacts in recycling companies who have got more plastic than they can use. So that side of things is ideal, because I don't know anything about that at the moment. So yeah, I mean, hopefully I can find other people who, I think the collection part's probably the easiest bit to set up. But obviously you need, if you're going to create a workshop, if you're going to buy the machine, so it costs anywhere for about 4,000 to buy the machines and their starter kit to get you up and running, which includes something to shred the plastic, you can get an extruder, or a so the extruder is the one where it sort of melts it, and then you can make a continuous thing, so like a beam or a brick or something that's continuous, it's in the same shape all the way through, or you can get a thing which is like a press, so you put a mold at the bottom, and then you get some plastic in, and then you pull it down like a jackpot lever in the casino.
Yeah.
Push it in, and then that little thing comes out, and you knock it out of the mold, and that's the thing. So like a key ring or something small like that.
Yeah.
So you can get these machines, but obviously then you need people who are if you're going to spend that money, 4,000, whatever it is, for machines plus something to, because you need space, you need to rent space, all that sort of thing, and other bits and bobs. I don't know, coffee machine, whatever it is you need to set up your community space. You then need to have people that know it's there and willing to use it. So you kind of need to have some of that community built up, possibly before you start, or at least the ability to reach those people.
And that's what that person's idea perhaps is, to get a community started, get something going.
He seems to be more interested in that sort of thing, yeah. The community side. So yeah,
cool.
That might be a good partnership. Who knows?
That's some good. Keep us in details of that as well, and keep it up to date.
Watch that pin.
Does sound pretty good. I mean, obviously people don't know where you live, so they don't really know what that pin is. But
well, if they find
you don't want to give your whole address, do you?
No, not really. Well, I mean, I live in Yeovil in Somerset at the moment.
So there's only one pin in Yeovil. and that's where Ross lives.
There's like I think it's like a 50-mile radius of my pin. There's nothing. It's literally nothing. There's a pin in Bristol, and there's a pin in Portsmouth, and there's a pin somewhere slightly west of London, but there isn't much in the middle. Which is
in Wales.
I think there might be one. There isn't. Again, it's not many.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I've never heard of this. I mean, the idea sounds good, as in reducing plastic waste, especially as we talked about before with recycling. The councils aren't probably doing the best of job, especially as we package all up and sell to China or India.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's part of it, I guess, is speaking to those local councils. Says, "Oh, actually, I've got someone who wants to use it. So, you have a source of HDPE plastic, please, because I need it."
I mean, hypothetically, is it illegal? Like for me, Wednesday is recycling night. If I was to walk up and down my street on Wednesday night with a black bag, just collecting people's plastic out of their plastic recycling boxes, is that allowed? Answer is why not. I mean, it might be weird, but that's fine, probably.
I don't know. I can't. I mean, I think you get away with it for quite a while because I can't see anyone calling in. But
well, there's a guy outside stealing my plastic.
Yeah.
Where's the plastic, sir? Oh, it's in my bin. Why are you calling us, sir?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of feels like every week I have, within like a 10-minute walk, unlimited plastic supply. If I was doing this, I imagine you would too on your recycling night.
Quite possibly. I mean, obviously, if you want a particular type of plastic, that now because I'm guessing you put all the plastic in the same container.
Yes.
And you don't then separate which one's HDPE, which one's LDPE, which one's PP, which one's the different type.
Without looking at the numbers, how would you do that?
I'm not sure. Well, I mean, you might learn that that product uses that product thing, but other than no, I mean, you'd have to check the numbers the first time. There are other little tests you can do if it doesn't say. You can does it float in water? Does it burn at certain a match? There'll be certain characteristics that you'll be able to use to determine what it is, but no, the numbers generally the process.
Yeah, maybe it's got the lowest melting point, so you just burn them all, and whichever melts first, use that one.
But at the point where you're sat outside with the match trying to set fire to people's plastic, at that point you might get the police called.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't test it at the time, but let's say, I don't know, let's say milk bottles, that plastic is what you want. Yeah, I could probably fill a black bag in my street if that's what I wanted, and then I could make, I don't know what I could make. I could make a thing.
Yes.
Whatever that thing is, I could probably make one a week for free.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. I like the idea of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so precious plastics, they're doing a cool thing. The UK is increasing, it's getting bigger. Where is it currently very big? You said Iden.
Yeah. I'll pull the map up for the YouTube.
So Netherlands, Scandinavian countries, quite big, I assume.
Yeah, so obviously, it started in Eindhoven, so it's orbiting that to some degree. But it is all over the world. Quite a bit in France and Germany. And then it sort of starts to dissipate the further away, basically, from Belgium and Netherlands that you go. Yeah, Netherlands is definitely the capital of precious plastics. So there's a couple of companies that have done some. I think I've mentioned it before, but they've created a circular system for it. So there's that company in Amsterdam that make boats out of plastic bottles that they find in the canal. Talked about that before.
Cool. Yeah.
So you can pay money to go and pick up plastic bottles, fish them out of the of the canal as you go around. There's a bit of fun. Oh, look, there's one. See if you can grab it, put it in the boat. And then at the end of the day, they take all those bottles, melt them down, I guess, and then make a new boat out of it. And then they can then make more money from other people doing the same thing, just more regularly. So that's a circular-based system that they've generated purely from, they've got their own waste resource, and they've got money-making revenue, and they've got a way of expanding.
I like this. I like this. I'm not sure if I like it because I like the idea, which I do, but I think the fact that there isn't anything in Wales gives me more motivation to actually want to do something.
So the other thing you can do is there's a Discord. So that's how I originally found. So it was through speaking to people on Discord. They suggested I created a pin, but someone also contacted me from Discord before I put the pin up. So I don't know if I misled people to think that the pin was what worked before. It didn't. It was the Discord chat that did. But you can. There's loads of different groups within the Discord for precious plastics. It's free to join as long as you have the software downloaded. And yeah, you can just go and find a group that fits and ask questions, and there's people in there answering them every day. So it's there's plenty of people doing stuff. There's people around. There are people talking in the United Kingdom group, but there's just isn't enough.
Okay, yeah, we can make a difference here. That sounds pretty good.
Oh, I think we can.
It's a nice act. Yeah, good act.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes. More of that acting, please.
Yeah, so I suppose on that note, are we good?
I think so. How do we end?
I can't remember.
Thanks for watching. We do appreciate it. If you even if you skip to the end, we still thank you for it. It's kind of you.
Yeah.
And then until next time, we'll.
Been Ross and Craig, chatting about precious plastics and some random news.
Think, educate, act.
Yeah, definitely an act. Very good act. Catch you all next time.
Bye-bye now.